and let's just visit. So I don't know if you've seen any of our little all-access passes stuff here, Jimmy, but we just talk.
Well, that's fine with me.
We just do whatever we want to do.
My wife says I'm good at that.
Your wife? Sweet
talking.
Nina.
Yeah, my wife, sweet wife Nina.
Hi, lady.
I know I overmarried big time. Yeah.
Well, she probably says that she married just right. She married a
She's been a godsend to me. I always I write a song every now and then. I sing a little bit, play my guitar, but she does everything else. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. And that's the honest to God truth.
Amen. Yeah. Behind every great man, that's right. I said this. I don't know if you heard.
But behind every successful man, there's a surprised woman.
I said this as you were backstage, but I mean it. There's so many comments going around about you, about he is such a nice man. He just talks to everybody and is so accessible. And looking right dead in your face, that just is really who you are. And I don't really know you very well, though we have some common ground and common friends, but that just seems to be the essence of who you are.
Well, I tell people all the time that, I play music and stuff like that, and that's singing is a gift, and being able to play and write is a gift, but my biggest gift is loving people. That's my biggest gift.
Well, it shows.
Because I don't have to put on that it's real, because I feel sorry for people that can't be around people.
Isn't that the truth?
Because to me, it's like I'm a swimmer and they're the ocean. I want to get in there and swim. I want to get right in there with them, and I want to hear what they have to say, and I feed off of that.
Yeah.
During the COVID thing, I don't even like to talk about COVID, but we were stuck at home for about a year, and it was really tough. And I started doing some things on the internet. I did a little thing called Jimmy Jams that went on for about 3 months, and I would do a song a day I was thinking it was going to end pretty quick, but it didn't. It just kept going. And I was getting a lot of feedback, but as I was looking into that computer, and I was trying to sing, and I was trying to connect, and I realized how important these people are. Because I can play guitar and sing a little bit, but if I'm at home or I'm somewhere by myself or writing, but I don't feel like I'm doing anything until I really get in front of people. You feed me, and that helps me to keep doing what I'm doing. And so without you, it's just not, we wouldn't have any reason, would we?
No. Yeah. Well, my statement is, there ain't nobody here but us. It's like we're the people and animals, of course, but we're all here for each other. And I found that too during COVID. And I think I've shared with y'all that I had brain surgery at the top of COVID 2020. And I was isolated already. I had a tumor that they removed, and luckily it was benign, but and then COVID started, and you just realize you need people in your life. And when you said, you feed off people.
Yeah. When you cut yourself off from it, I really told my wife, I said, I thought about it before. People would say, when are you going to retire? And I thought about maybe a retirement day somewhere down the road or something. And I said, and when I didn't have those, I felt like I was dying.
You did?
I felt like I was dying when I couldn't get in front of people, couldn't be around people, and it just was the worst feeling to me. I realized how important people are. And I mean, my family's important to me, and my children and my grandchildren and all that, but just everyday people.
Yeah,
just having that connection, and we're all, I feel like everybody, we're created in God's image.
Amen.
And each and every one of us, and He loves everyone from the top of the top to the bottom of the bottom. And so we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And we need to be each other's cheerleader.
Isn't that the truth?
And that's one thing about being on this cruise. Everybody I've met, just the nicest people in the world. And not only that, the entertainers on this boat, we all are each other's cheerleaders.
Mm-hmm.
And we cheer for each other, and we want each other to be successful. And everybody comes along patting you on the back, saying, oh, you're this and you're that. And we do the same thing back, because, that's what it's all about, man. Just making each other feel good. And if somebody might be sick, be a little down or something, you go and you try to cheer them up. That's what it's all about.
Don't you love that that's what comes out of people that you admire, that's what comes out of their mouth, and that's how they live their life. Because there's probably been times, well, I won't ask you, but you walk up to someone, or you meet, I've said this in other interviews, that you meet somebody that you really admire, and they turn out to be not so nice as a person. And that is so disappointing. And a lot of people don't want to meet their heroes because they're nervous of that. It's like, oh, I don't want that to be the way that they truly are.
Yeah, that always kind of makes me nervous too when I'm around someone that is an entertainer that you can tell that they're really nervous about meeting people and everything. And then when I see it makes me kind of like feel like, oh, what do you do? And it's kind of and it is a turn off, but I try to understand,
right.
maybe they're going somewhere, that maybe they got something going on in their life.
Right.
Try not to judge people,
Right.
I try that. Even everyday people might be going through something. And I like people that come on the cruise. A lot of times you hear, well, I was here with my wife, and that she's not here with me anymore, or I was here with my husband last time, and he's not here with me anymore. And you can tell they're sad and they're kind of heartbroken, and you need to take the time just to listen to them a little bit and say, hey, we understand, we love you. And I get people say, how can you tell everybody you love them? I said, because I really do.
Yeah.
I honest to God really do love them.
I believe you.
And I just have a love for people.
I believe you, and not to capture to take what you just said, but that's how I feel. That's how I
can tell you feel that
live
way.
my life.
Yeah.
I try to, and I think that's why I was so excited to talk to you, because that's just the prevailing message that people say. When I say, "Are you enjoying the cruise?" That Jimmy Fortune. That Jimmy Fortune.
I came from a real simple life background. I tell people all the time, if you ever saw the Waltons TV show,
yes,
you saw how I grew up.
It really?
Yeah, and I'm number 7 of 9 children. Yeah.
In West Virginia or Virginia?
Virginia. Yeah.
Seriously, you grew up kind of rural like that?
Oh, I was way out in the sticks. We lived on a place called Nellie's Ford when I was a kid. When I was from 6 years old until I was about 12. And there was across the river there was a dump that people used to dump their trash. And as a kid, I would go over there and I'd rummage through the trash, and I'd find things, toys and things that people had thrown away because Mom and Dad couldn't afford to buy us anything.
Wow.
And so I would take them back home and I would try to put them back together or fix them. If I couldn't, I just, I found a bicycle one day. It had wheels on it but didn't have any tires. It didn't have a chain. And I rode that thing until it didn't have anything else on it. And
really?
And then when I was about 8 years old, I was over there rummaging through it one day, and I found a little guitar, and it was beat all to pieces, but it had 2 strings on it. And I picked the guitar up, and honest to God, I felt something when I picked that guitar up. I felt like somehow this is going to hold my future.
Really?
I felt it. I felt that, and I just loved it. I took it home and I started playing little melodies on it. Like I said, it only had 2 strings, but I started playing it, and Mom and Dad would say, well, we think you might have talent. We're going to try to buy you a guitar. We'll try to get you a real guitar. And I knew it was going to be hard because Christmas comes rolling around. I'm thinking I'm going to get this guitar. Mom and Dad, Christmas rolls around, and they couldn't get it. So maybe next year, son, So next year comes the roll around. I didn't get it again. Next year, I didn't get it. So I gave up on it. I said, I'm not going to get a real guitar. And I really wanted one so bad. And so Christmas 1967, I was 12 years old. I came downstairs not expecting to see a guitar. And I opened the door. There on the couch next to the Christmas tree was a beautiful harmony guitar. And I ran over and grabbed it, and I picked it up, and I held on to it, and I told Daddy, I said, Daddy, if I can learn to sing and play at the same time, I said, I'm going to make a living at this. And he said, boy, are you crazy? He said, you can't make a living playing music. He said, why do you think they call it playing? And, to him, it was a hobby. And he was just trying to protect me, I think. And so I just started playing it. And by the time I was 13, I had a little band I put together with some guys lived down the road from us. And we started playing our first job was the elementary school in Livingston, Virginia, PTA meeting. And we made $1 a piece.
That's a lot.
I told my daddy I'm on my way. And we went right out of school from this elementary school. We walked right out, and it was a little restaurant right up the road. We walked about 3 miles to get there anyway. A little restaurant there, and we went and blew it all on a milkshake.
You said what?
We blew it all on a milkshake, all the whole $1 on
a milkshake.
Yeah. And then we all walked home with our guitars strapped on our back with no cases. And we were like, I can't believe we did something we loved. We made money and had a milkshake. And that started everything right there. That started it all.
Thank God for the PTA. Are your folks still with us, Jimmy?
No, Mama passed away in 2000. My daddy passed away in 94. And that's where a lot of my songs come from. It's the loss of, of them, And I don't know why it just brings those... that's kind of how I deal with it, because I was a mama's boy and I love my daddy so much. But I guess that's how I deal with it. I write songs that I'm always dreaming. I dream pretty strange dreams sometimes, but every once in a while I'll dream. I dreamed once about my mama after she passed, and once of my dad. And it was so real. That's where we sat down and actually had a conversation.
Really?
I said, I hope that everybody could experience that, because I wasn't expecting it, but after my dad passed away in 94, some years went by, and he actually, in the dream, told me something that was going to happen to me that did happen. Like, I was a couple of years before the Statler Brothers retired, and my dad came to me. I fell into this deep sleep one morning, and you know how you feel yourself just fall? It's like, bam, and then I'm standing backstage by myself, pacing back and forth, and this door opens up, and it's bright light, and my dad walks through, and he said, I bet you thought you weren't going to ever see me again, did you, boy? And I just ran over to him and fell around, and I was holding on to his waist, and I was on my knees, and I could feel him patting me on the back, and I'm apologizing to him for everything that I ever did, tearing the transmission out of his car, and all these things, that I did. And he was saying, it's okay, son. And I was telling him I loved him. He said, I love you too. And he said, now you got to get out there and do your show. And I said, what are you talking about? You got to do a show. He said, yeah, you're going to be on your own. And
this was a couple years before.
Yeah, and I didn't know what that meant, because I woke up and I was crying. There's tears coming down my face, and I didn't want it to end. And so I wondered, about that dream. And then 2002, the Statler Brothers called us all together, and the band and me and myself, and just said, this is going to be our last year.
Wow.
And they said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I thought about that dream and what my dad said. Jeez. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to continue on. I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
And my daddy used to tell me anyway, he said, son, it's a good thing you can play guitar and sing a little bit, because you're not worth a darn at anything else. But he didn't use that word. He used another one, but anyway.
Wow.
That's why I knew that I had to continue on, because I knew I had a purpose, and my purpose in music was to build people up from loss, for if a loss in life, or whether you just down in your life and down in the dumps. I feel like that's my purpose on earth, with all the things that are going on in the world today, to let people know that there is hope, and there's a higher power that is something else here besides just this whole world, because this whole world is kind of, everything dies away. The only things that live are the love that you show toward others, and that love lives on. Love does live on in us.
Amen.
If we let it. But I dreamed about my mother after she passed away. It had been a while, and a couple of years actually after she passed. And I again had just wasn't unexpectedly just sleeping one morning again. Like I said, when you wake up and then you fall back into that deep sleep again, and my mother's face came up in front of me. And her face was right there, and it was so real. I mean, it was just like, it was more real than this right here. And I just grabbed her, and I was like, Mama. And her face, her head was like right here when I was holding on to it. And all of a sudden, I just felt this, "I love you, son," in my ear. It was like a whisper. And I felt it. It was so real, like going into my ear, that it woke me up.
The breath.
Yeah. It's just like that. And I was like, no, I didn't want it. Let me just have her for a little bit longer. And honest to God, I felt like she made a deal with God to say, let me tell my son I love him one more time.
Wow.
And so with that, after that wasn't long, I wrote a song called I Believe, which was inspired by my mother, who was a prayer warrior, who prayed for us, prayed for not only us, but my daddy, who was an alcoholic, and all of her kids. She always prayed that her prayer was that I want my children to know God. I want them to love him and seek him in everything that they do, and to honor him. And that was her prayer for all of us. And all 9 kids have really been accepted Christ as their Savior and turned their life over to him, even though a lot of us, including me, strayed along the way quite a bit. Do, Jimmy. And but Mama's prayers were answered. She not only prayed for us, but she prayed for her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, on down the line. So I warned my children. I said, y'all have already been prayed over, so I think God's going to pretty much take care of y'all the rest of the way out of here because of my mother. But prayer does work, you know, and I've seen power in prayer so much, and I think it's the most powerful tool that we can use today. You know. Yeah.
Well, Jimmy, people have said to me, "You just make everyone cry," and I'm like, "Well,
Jimmy, I can make people cry all the time. It's hard to make people laugh."
They were saying that in the interviews that you know, different artists that I've talked to, they were joking. They're like, "Well, Nan, when you talk to somebody, you make them cry, but Jimmy Fortune, you just made me cry." Oh. And I think half of the audience here, but that's just life, isn't it? That's just real and
I always tell
tangible.
People, you know, it's great to make people laugh, and it really is. Like the Statler Brothers, man, they can. You want to laugh? Let me tell you what. Get around them guys, you will laugh your butt off.
And Neil McCoy.
And Neil McCoy, oh my God! And I love laughter, but I do tell people, tears cleanse the soul.
Amen.
Sometimes I've had people come up and tell me, I can't cry, and I really feel sorry for them because, I try to hold things in sometimes, and I had to sing at a lot of funerals and things like that, and it's really tough. I just had to sing at my brother-in-law's funeral that passed away a few months ago, and he was like my brother, it was unexpected.
I'm so sorry.
And my sister, I was like thinking, oh God, please don't ask me to sing. And she said, Jimmy, I know Larry would want you to sing, and I just didn't have the heart to tell her no. I said, okay. And I remember, I don't know, I was trying to sing, and I got through it. I did get through it. But after it was over, as soon as it was over, it was like a dam burst in my life. I couldn't even get my breath.
Really?
It scared me so bad. I was crying so hard. And it's like when I'm doing songs in a show, I'll do a song that I believe, which I'm thinking about my mom, and it's hard to get through it. I almost have to put myself in another place to sing it. And there are times when I had a lady come up, and I was doing I Believe. It was somewhere up in Kentucky one night, and she came up to the stage, and I was singing I Believe, and she had a picture of my mother, and she showed it to me while I was singing it. And it was over. I mean, I literally I almost had to shut the show down. Every word was done. The band was playing, and I couldn't sing. But people forgave me for it. You know,
of course they forgave you.
But it was really tough to go on. But as an entertainer, sometimes we have to push our feelings back.
We do.
To be able to perform those songs, and I hate it when it goes like the other way, when you can't get those words out anymore, because that's our job. We're supposed to deliver that message in that song to these people out there. And I feel like it's so important that we do everything we can to put forth the message in the music.
I agree.
You know.
Well, I'm going to shift gears and see if I can wipe my tears, because my friend Cindy, who's my best girlfriend,
great singer, by the way.
She is a good singer. We kind of go on down to the piano bar and see Tim Atwood at the end of the night, because we made our living singing together for a long time. We were in a band together, and we'd make $100 a night or $150
there you
a night.
Go. You know what I'm talking about.
Dang, we're rich, and we would get free food at the country club, and we're like, look at that. So we would go down and hang out where people sing, and you came up the other night, and as many shows as you've done, and as much talking as you've done, and it was probably midnight or something late like that. Y'all, this man's voice, well, I don't need to tell you, how in the world do you keep this instrument that you have, this blessed instrument, so crystal clear? You're singing Roy Orbison songs at midnight. What do you do to maintain that?
I don't know. I consider it, it's a gift from God, and I don't understand it. I really don't. But I've done it all these years, and I think a lot of it can be contributed to the fact that I never drank, I never smoked, I never tried to abuse myself, or in any kind of way. And I've always said rest and water is one of the most important things. And try to take care of yourself, and I think that's probably the biggest reason. But I didn't drink because my daddy was an alcoholic, and I saw so many things he did to his life, and I saw how God worked in his life to help him overcome it.
Thank God.
Yes, and like I said, I saw what God did in my daddy's life. He became my hero. And so when things in my when things in my life went south, going through a lot of things, I knew that my mom always said, don't run from God, run to God. And so, and I used to wonder, people would talk about depression, and I would say, I was just so into life that I said, depression? What do you mean? What are you talking? How can you be depressed? And that's what I said for a long time. But when things happen in my life, because life happens.
Yes,
sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Things start happening, and you can be depressed. And I experienced depression for a while. And I started being withdrawing a little bit, and I had friends, thank God for friends, coming to say, hey, come on. And because you see people on stage, you never know, like I said, what they're going through. You think, well, he should have everything. I was with the Statler Brothers, and I was having awards, and I was writing songs and winning awards, but I was miserable in my life. And I was just having to put one foot in front of the other. And when I go home, I just started feeling like I just didn't want to go out, didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to go to sleep. And then my friends started coming to get me and taking me out and everything. And that's when I met my wife, Nina. She straightened me out pretty good, started helping me a lot. And so we dated for 5 years, and then we got married. So we've been married almost 25 years.
25 years. Yeah. I asked him that backstage. So for you, and not to get too deep, but for you to overcome that, because I don't know how y'all are, but I'm probably one of the happiest persons, but it's, a therapist said, you have some depression. I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
That was coming out as anxiety and things like that. For you, your friends and interaction really helped that situation for you.
I found, God's so real to me, but so is the devil. He's real.
Yeah, he is.
And we tend to sometimes forget that, I think, and he slips in through whatever door he can get in your life. And sometimes we let it happen, and not meaning to, but sometimes it happens. And so, in order to overcome that, it takes more than just you. It takes a spiritual reckoning, I always call it.
Yeah.
A spiritual reckoning of face to face, to look in the mirror and say, hey, until I looked in the mirror, I didn't, if you didn't like that person, I don't like you. That's what I had to say. And I said, I don't like you. I'm going to change you with God's help. And until I said that, until I said those words, I really asked Jesus to help me. Because like I said, my mom always said, don't run from him, run to him. And that's what it took. And then about that time, it was back about 1993, my dad has been diagnosed with cancer. First person I ever really was going to lose in my life, you know, that was very important to me. And I was going through a divorce and a separation and pretty bad. And I couldn't go home to see my children like I wanted to anymore. And so I just was experiencing kind of a great loss, more loss than I'd ever experienced in my life. And so I just had to have that come to Jesus meeting. And I didn't have anywhere else to turn. And I said, I'm sure not going the other way. I'm not gonna, this is where the rubber meets the road here. I need something more than just myself to help me change my life. Like I said, it's literally a spiritual thing to say, come into my life, clean it out, go into every room of my heart. Don't just hit the living room, because there's rooms back there with things in them that I don't want you to see, but I'm gonna let you already know it's there. Clean it out. And God did that for me. So I did lose my dad. He passed away. I did go through a divorce, but since then, God has put my life back together. Even a lot of the wrong things that happened have turned out okay.
Yes.
Because of God, because of forgiveness and grace.
Forgiveness and grace.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
The other night when you sang at the Opry, and I was playing announcer at the Opry, things I learned about you that I didn't really realize. I knew that you were in the Country Music Hall of Fame as the Statler, and then I didn't know you were in the Virginia Music Hall of Fame, but he's also in the Gospel Music Hall of Fame. I mean, not a lot of people in our world can cover. You know, I think about Brenda Lee and the rock and roll and the country music, but not a lot of artists get to swim in both of those big pools.
Yeah, I know. I don't really talk about it too much, but it's one of those things that you never plan on as a when you're going into this business thinking, oh, I want to do that. I don't know many people that say I'm going to be in the Hall of Fame.
No,
I'm going to be this. I never said that, and didn't expect it, but all these things just happened that I can't figure out. They were God things. I always call them God things. That happened in your life. Being with the Statler Brothers back when they hired me from a nobody in Virginia, playing clubs 6 nights a week, 4 hours a night, doing all kinds of music. I had 2 daytime jobs. I had 1 full-time job as a service writer at a car dealership in Charlottesville, Virginia, Porsche Audi dealership. And then I was a kind of a janitor for the places that I'd go to a Holiday Inn and I'd say, hey, if you let my band come play, I'll come clean your bathrooms.
What?
Yeah.
You did 2 jobs when you started with the Statlers. What year was that?
It was 1982.
Wow.
I was 26 years old, going on 12, I think. But I was working really hard, and I didn't realize that. I just was doing what I loved, but in the process of it, I was working myself to death. Really, I became anemic and I was sick.
Okay.
Matter of fact, when I auditioned for the Statler Brothers, I was sick. I was anemic and I had flu and I was just really not very good place in my life. I was just burning the candle at both ends.
Well, you must have done something right that day because they gave you the job.
When I went there, I could sing and blend. You know, I knew that I wasn't 100%.
Okay.
And but it's going to be in my book, which I told you I'm going to be writing a book.
So he's almost finished with his book.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be out pretty soon. I'm hoping. Anyway, I'm almost at the end of it anyway. But all that story is going to be in there, and it's so long and it's so detailed that so many things happen to lead to that point. But
But
anyway, I sang and they auditioned some people in Nashville. I was the first one through the door to audition for the Statler Brothers. And they thought, surely, they said, the first guy through the door is not going to be the guy that we're going to hire. So they went to Nashville and they said, we'll call you in a couple of weeks. And I thought, well, this is pretty cool. If it doesn't work out,
sure.
I got to go sing with the Statler Brothers around the piano at Harold Reed's house. And I said, I got something to tell my children or my grandchildren one day. And so as it turned out, they called me back in about a week and asked me to come to Nashville. They'd been listening to other people and said, we want to give you the same opportunity we gave these other guys that auditioned and want to record and see what it sounds like. So I flew to Nashville, and they asked me, had I ever flown before? I said no. And he said, Harold's given me all the instructions, and then he put his manager on, which was Marshall Grant, and he was our manager. So he told me to go to the airport, pick up these tickets, and that's a long story in itself. I almost missed the airplane.
Oh, Lord.
He flies to Pittsburgh from a little puddle jumper from Virginia to Pittsburgh, where they're shoveling snow off the airplane wings and everything. And I remember getting there, and it was the day after Air Florida happened, and you don't remember that because you're too young. But it killed a bunch of people in the Potomac up there, like 180 people died.
Wow.
It was the day after that. So everybody's kind of nervous anyway. I got on the plane and I'm kind of singing, to myself and tapping my foot. And this guy next to me, he says, what in the world are you so happy about, man? He said, you know what? They're shoveling snow off the wings of this plane. He said, I'm thinking about getting off. I said, I'm not, because I'm going to Nashville to audition for the Statler Brothers. I said, you know who the Statler Brothers are? He said, well, yeah. He said, that's my favorite group. And he stood up and he said, this guy's going to Nashville to sing for the Statler Brothers. And everybody started going, yeah, let's go, let's get this off. And so
you could not lose at that point.
So I get to Nashville and I go to get in a limo. They pick me up and take me over to Young and Sound. The guy drives me over there, and Young and Sound in Nashville. And I pull up and he says, well, you're gonna walk up those steps and walk through that door. I said, okay. So I go up and I walk through the door, and there the Statler Brothers, actually the band's sitting out. They got a microphone sitting there, and the band's sitting out in the room, and then the Statler Brothers are behind the wall back there, and the control room, and Jerry Kennedy's laying on the floor back there. But he's already listened to I don't know how many people, and he's thinking, man, and they said he was just wore out. He was like, I don't know if I can listen to one more. And they said, so when they came out and met me, Jerry stayed in the room back there. He was laying on the floor. He said, with his hands over his head like this. And he said, they came out and said hey to me and everything. And said, well, we're going to go in the booth in here and we're going to sing. And you just start singing along with us and with the band plays and whatever song we play. I said, okay.
So wait a minute, whatever song we play, you're supposed to kind of know all of their songs?
I'm supposed to sing along with them, with whatever they sing. Well, they happened to pick, like, How Great Thou Art.
Oh, thank goodness.
And they picked Flowers on the Wall.
Okay.
Bed of Roses, which I knew.
Okay.
I knew their hits anyway.
Okay, go ahead.
So when they just clicked it off, I started singing with them. And Jerry Kennedy said he was laying on the floor and whenever I started the first song, he said, they looked over at Jerry Kennedy and he looked up at him and said, thumbs up. He said, that's it. And so they gave me the job, and then I was there for 6 months. And I mean, you can only imagine how I felt. I mean, I was an old boy that I didn't have nothing. I probably never would have had nothing if I hadn't been to the Statler Brothers. And for those guys to be the most awarded act in the history of country music,
I forget that.
To ask me,
wow.
Still are the most awarded
that's
act
right.
in the history of country music.
And how many years were you with them?
Almost 21.
21 years. Almost as many years as you've been alive. At that point.
Yeah. But I don't want people to forget the Statler Brothers, Lou DeWitt, who was the tenor singer for the Statler Brothers before I came along. He wrote Flowers on the Wall and many of their other hits. And he's the one that heard me singing in a ski resort in Virginia one night. And whenever he was going to have to be out for Crohn's disease because he suffered so much from that, I was one of the first names out of his mouth. And so, again, another God thing where I was in the right place at the right time for a reason, I think. Mm-hmm. I was there for them, and they were there for me. Mm-hmm. And so I couldn't have asked for a better group to be with because they were so much about God and country and family. And so I had some great brothers to look up to, you know.
That is a good dovetail, and I don't mean to cut you off if you were going to say more about that, but you said brother, you said the key word for me. He has a new project that I just got to touch on a little bit because you're going back back to your group days.
Right.
So you've partnered with three other singers. What is it called? Brotherly?
It's called Brothers of the Heart.
Brothers
with
of
Ben
the Heart.
Isaacs, Mike Rogers, and Bradley Walker.
Wow.
And
Wow.
And as a matter of fact, you'll be one of the first ones to get it. We brought some of those CDs on the ship. I think they have them in the gift shop down there. It's called Brothers of the Heart. If you see it, you'll be one of the first ones to have it. It'll be in Cracker Barrel real soon. Yeah. Y'all all know about Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
My mama used to say, Jimmy, you never made it until you got a CD in Cracker Barrel. For some reason, after she passed away, my CDs have been in Cracker Barrel. Yeah.
How did it feel to kind of be back in a collaborative situation like the Statler Brothers?
You know, it really feels good because we just started getting together and singing some, and it was magical. I mean, Bradley Walker, as y'all know, he's a wonderful person first and foremost, but his voice is just like this really big voice, and it's just so pretty, and he can really, really sing. Mike Rogers is one of the greatest musicians in Nashville, and also one of the greatest singers. He's also with a fellow by the name of Ricky Skaggs. He sings, and you don't be with Ricky Skaggs and not be one of the tops in the business. And of course, Ben Isaacs is of the Isaacs family. And I always ask him, I said, why in the world you got them pretty girls to sing with, and you want to sing with three other hairy-legged old boys? I don't understand it. And we ain't that pretty either. And so I don't understand. But he said, he just loves it. He produces a project. It was his brainstorm that kind of got us all together in the first place. Mike was jamming downtown at little clubs downtown, and we'd go see him, and we'd get up and sing with him. And we started singing these, and it's what it is. It's all cover songs. It covers every genre, almost every genre of music. It's like it's got country, it's got gospel, it's got pop, it's got a little bit of everything on it, because that's kind of what I grew up with, a little bit of everything. And but it's got we had our first project was called Brotherly Love.
Brotherly Love, that's right.
And it did so well that of course they came to us and asked us to do another one. And so this one's called Listen to the Music, Brothers of the Heart. Don Reed of the Statler Brothers named us. Don came down to Grand Ole Opry. We filmed a DVD there, which DVD will be out soon. It's a TV offer, as a matter of fact. And Don Reed did the interview portion of the whole thing. He sat down and interviewed all of us sitting there at the Grand Ole Opry, at the stage of the Grand Ole Opry.
Wow.
And then we filmed it in Grand Ole Opry Studio A in the back, where we filmed our Statler Brothers shows.
That's right.
For all
Wow,
those years.
full circle.
So if you get a chance, you want to hear what's on there, hear the songs that are on there. Like I said, we did bring some of them there, so you might. I think it closed at 11 tonight, so I think
it does close at 11.
There's a few more left if you want to get one of those. But I think you're going to really enjoy it. If you don't, let me know. I'll give you money back.
Well, there you go. I don't want to even stop this conversation.
Well,
you've got to, but I know you've got a sound check, and I'm just trying to be mindful of your time.
We can have a few more questions if you want.
Well, I thought maybe if you don't mind, I bet some folks want to ask you some things, because I get the honor to ask. So please, ma'am.
Hi, Jimmy. How did you meet your wife, Nina?
I met my wife, Nina, back in 1993. I had gone through a, divorce, kind of separation at the time. And like I said before, I kind of gotten into a little bit of a depressed state in my life. And due to my own decisions and my own fault, I would say that, But I was kind of in a rough place in my life. And I think she had moved from her little hometown. Her daddy owned a building supply company that I dealt with all the time. I would deal with this, buying building supplies and things like that. And so she moved to Stanton, up the Stanton area where I was living, and she came to work there for her dad. And so I had some friends of mine trying to get me out of the house one night, and they said there was a party at this building supply company, and it was a cookout or something. They wanted me to come. I said, a cookout at a building supply company? Come on, guys. Y'all can't do any better than that. And so anyway, I wasn't going to go. And now they literally grabbed me by the arm and pulled me. And I went that night, and I'm glad I did, because they had cooking this pig, and had all this good food, and they had this music. And a friend of mine was with me. He said, man, look at that girl over there. I said, yeah, she's beautiful. He said, I might ask her to dance. And I said, why don't you? I said, if she dance with you, she'll definitely dance with me. So I had no idea who she was or anything. I didn't know her daddy was the owner of the building supply company. She started working for him. And so he danced with her, and after he danced with her, I said, well, I'm going to ask her to dance. So I went over and asked her to dance, and she was dancing with me, and she was kind of looking around. I said, so what do you do? And she said, well, I work here. And I said, oh, okay. I said, are you looking for somebody? She's kind of looking around. She said, somebody said one of the Statler Brothers is going to be here tonight. And I said, well, let me see. I started looking around. I said, I don't see none of them here. I said, I don't believe it. So I let it go. I just let it go. And she goes on back to her business, you know. And I didn't tell her any different. No, I didn't say. I did not say anything. And so later on, I go back and I ask her to dance again.
Oh, she probably figured it out by now.
No, she didn't figure it out. She's like, dance with me again. And somebody comes up and says, man, I enjoy your TV show. And I'm like, I said, thank you. She said, what kind of TV show do you have? I said, she said, you're not one of the Statler Brothers. I said, oh, yeah, I am. So then I asked her out, and I wouldn't leave her alone. I kept coming back to her job and seeing her. Yeah, I would show up at her job and start talking to her. And the thing of it is, I took my kids by there one day, and they just loved her. They fell in love with her. And I said, if my children love her, that's good enough for me. And she loved my children too. That was one of the most important things, is that she loved my children, and she did. And they love her still today. And so I think that's why it's all worked. And she told me many times that I'm the child she never wanted. And you'll have to be around me a little bit to figure that's probably true.
One more question, and then we'll have to let him go. Yes, ma'am.
Well, Don has not sung. He wouldn't even sing on this DVD when we had him down. He will not sing anymore. When Harold and Phil stopped Don, I think they must have had a pact that we'll never sing again, because they have never sung a lick except for when we sang the last time we were put into the Country Music Hall of Fame. We sang Go to My Grave Loving You together. That was the last time we sang on stage. And I've begged him over and over and over again. And he just says no. If the Statler Brothers aren't singing, I'm not singing. And that's the way they felt about it, you know. But they have supported me in what I did, because they knew I was a little younger than they were, and I came along later. And matter of fact, like I said, Don came out and did that. And it really I just felt an honor that he would come and do that, and because he supports me in what's going on, and he really supports this group because he loves the group, I think, and you know, he loves Ben Isaacs and Mike Rogers and Bradley Walker as well. And so he came and did that for us, and that's probably the most that you'll see of Don Reed. I promise you that. He just doesn't go anywhere. He's all about his family and his kids, and he's spending time with them, and that's what he was going to do with his life, and I admire him for it. And you know, I'm slowing down a little bit myself, you know, trying to spend more time with my children and my grandchildren, because you know, I've done this a long time, but I don't want to quit. I'm never going to. Retirement's not in my vocabulary. So I'm going to keep on doing it as long as I can. But
well, Jimmy Fortune, thank you.
You're very welcome.
We admire you.
Thank you.
I'm going to say a collective we, because I'm seeing a lot of head shake. We admire you.
Well,
your faith, your gift, your honesty, your sincerity, and your generosity that you give to everybody on this boat. And thank you so much. Give it up for Jimmy Fortune one more time, Paul. Yay!
God bless you. I appreciate it. And Nan, give her a big old hand. You've done a wonderful